Good morning, everybody. Well, actually, some people won't listen to this in the morning. I'm Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Life After D podcast, our special Halloween episode before Halloween starts. It's going to be a little weird this year. It's going to be different with trick-or-treating. Emily, I don't know if you have plans for that.
No trick-or-treating this year. We're just gonna have a couple socially distanced people come over and just I got a piñata for candy so that the kids can have some fun with candy, and that's about it. I know some people say they're trick-or-treating, but I'm not really sure that that's, gonna be much going on with that this year.
Do kids like candy still? Like the way things are, like with this iPad here, it's all like digital games and I don't know, candy.
Oh, candy will never go out of style. My kids get as excited about candy as a new game or movie or like anything. Like candy is like get them like a Snickers bar and they're in heaven. They think that's the best treat. Like the full size, like because they're used to getting little teeny ones. So one day I picked them up from school and I brought like a full size Snickers bar and they were just like in heaven.
Oh yeah, the sugar bombs. Like was it like
Oh,
50 grams of sugar?
yeah, but so good.
Okay,
And the
okay.
best part is my little one, my 5-year-old, never finishes one, so then mommy gets some too.
Yeah, so let's start off with the news. This part of the podcast we're gonna go over the news. See what's going on, see what trends are coming up, see what celebrities, celebrity gossip. There's always good celebrity divorce gossip. Speaking of sugar highs, this actress celebrity always seems like she's on a sugar high. Drew Barrymore. She's got that show. She's always always seems like some bonkers. I don't know if that's the right word. But she went on like a kind of a celebrity I don't know, press thing. I guess because she has a new show. I don't know if you've seen it. Seen it lately?
I have actually. She has a talk show, and I was working from home one day, and I had the TV on in the background, and she popped up. She's so cute. I love her. She's just like a real person. She doesn't pretend she's all perfect. She just, she's a tired mom, like a lot of us, and she just, I don't know. I always liked her.
Yeah, I saw ET recently, and she's come a long way. Like she was like an incredible child actress. Okay, so let's
She was
see.
so cute in that movie.
So she went through a divorce recently. Drew Barrymore tears up while discussing her divorce. I took it really hard. And this is from Vanity Fair. Drew Barrymore spoke candidly about her divorce from ex-husband Will Kopelman and how growing up without any family affected her approach to parenting. During an interview with Willie Geist on Sunday today, the actress turned talk show host told Geist, "I really did not take divorce well. I took it really hard." She continued, "It took me 5 years to be able to speak with strength, articulation, perspective, hindsight, and see everything we did right, because when we were getting divorced, it felt like everything was just wrong." I think that applies to everyone who thinks that something will be forever and it's not. She teared up while discussing the process of getting married again, saying, "It's like, I don't think I've recovered from that. I don't know how to open up again. It's like something closed and it stayed closed. I think I'm equally as scared to find love again as I would be as if it never happened." But despite their divorces, she and Kopelman are focused on successfully co-parenting their 2 young daughters and raising them in the best environment possible. "His family and I have made the most important choice to be so together and united and so connected," she explained. That's, I guess, what they call family. I know from not growing up with any family whatsoever that this was the last thing I wanted to do for my daughters. And according to sidekick, Anna Raimondi, who Barrymore had on her talk show last week. She's doing a good job. You're so a part of that family. It doesn't matter whether the two of you are together anymore. So something that I guess a lot of people go through.
Yeah, it is. And, that's the thing. When you divorce, you're still family because you have children together. You may have become really close with your spouse's family. And so you're not just divorcing your spouse, you're almost like divorcing their whole family. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can keep relationships with those people and you can make it, make it so that you still can remain family. You're just not married or together in the same way, but you still have those familial ties. And of course, it's hard and it's a trauma for anyone. But if you can do that so that your children benefit from having, because I know they had kids together, I think they have two, having that ability to, have the kids see the family intact, I think that's really nice.
And our next article, this is interesting because, this is years after. So MaryClaire.com, Prince William and Prince Harry learned very different lessons from their parents' failed marriage. Prince Charles and Princess Diana's dramatic divorce shaped how both of their sons would go on to approach marriage. According to royal biographer and historian Robert Lacey, the brothers took opposite lessons from their parents' ordeal, and those different views played a direct role in their current feud. Whereas Prince William took a very cautious approach to love and marriage with Kate Middleton, Prince Harry was determined to follow his heart in marriage and moved very quickly in the relationship with Meghan Markle. So Prince William and Prince Harry were very young when their parents, Prince Charles and Princess Diana, got divorced. Charles and Diana's split was very, is a very big word,
Harmonious?
Whatever. Yeah, there you go. You have a good vocabulary. Okay. And it shaped how William and Harry thought about marriage as adults. It did not, however, shape them in the same way. This guy writes a book. One of the quotes that we thought that the disorder, chaos, and tragedy of the 80s and 90s evolving their parents were over. Now it's all come back to life in the shape of these two boys. They were the legacy of all that heartache. Lacey said recently, according to Page Six, they both talked about the importance of mental health and acknowledged they are psychologically fragile, but they coped with it in different ways. So this does affect you forever, the divorce.
It does. But what that also shows is that you can be from the same family, in the same, same parents, go through the exact same event and divorce and react to it differently. People have ingrained personalities, whether you believe in like birth order, like the oldest child always is a certain way and the younger child's a certain way, or just, the fact that they are very different people. They cope with things differently. They move forward in their relationships with their spouses differently. And I think that it's really interesting, and that's a really good example of that. There's a lot of families where siblings are not similar at all, even if they've been through the exact same events. So I think, that's something to remember in, your divorces is your children may not react the same. One child might process it one way and the other child the other way. So you have to be very child specific when helping your children through a trauma like this.
Okay, let's see. Psychologytoday.com, how divorce and breakups can be steps in healing our past. Our relationships are ultimately about healing wounds. So this article is by Robert Tavy. This is a very long acronym here for his accreditation. LCSW. Is that like?
Oh yeah, licensed clinical social worker.
There you go. Okay. Okay, so Amy has been married for 6 years and it's been great. Matt, her new partner, is laid back and gentle in contrast to their first husband to her first husband, who was all too controlling, micromanaging, and sometimes even abusive. Much like her own mother, this relationship has allowed her to learn to relax, to let down her guard and lean in a mat. And because she's not walking on eggshells all the time, she has become more outspoken compared to where she was, say, 10 years ago. She now feels more grounded and more herself. What Amy's story illustrates is the way we all can know only, I think, not only heal the wounds of our past relationships through new ones, but heal deeper childhood wounds as well. But unfortunately, the path isn't always easy. It requires some work on our part and comes from particular challenges. Here are the some of the most common steps on the path towards healing. I'll go through these quick. So we leave our childhood. We are drawn to what is less bad. We try to make it different. We reach bottom line and need to reboot. We redo. We look for that better vision. Okay, so but the real moral of the story is the danger is here is one we all know. What we see in our family members, our closest friends, they don't move through these stages, but instead continue to repeat the same patterns in different forms of the abuse or anger or disappointment that are still there, but slightly different, slightly watered down. Our old coping styles are still not quite working out, but we tell ourselves it's not really so bad, it's good enough. They're the kids to worry about. We say to ourselves that probably this is good as it gets. We settle.
Yeah, well, people have different coping mechanisms, but a lot of times they may not be the most effective coping mechanism. And you really need to learn new tools and new coping mechanisms so that you're not just settling and you're really moving forward and getting the help that you need. I think we have comfortable coping mechanisms that we've learned over time, and we tend to default to those even unconsciously. And that may not be effective for us. We really need therapy or coaching to learn how to get new skills for how to deal with the new traumas in our lives and how to come through it quickly.
Okay, that's good. In this part of the show, we're going to go over posts. We're going to go over things that people are going through, whether it's getting started in the divorce process, having a life after divorce, or just ranting. So let's see what we're going to get today. All right, first post. With benefits enrollment on the calendar, if your company offers group legal coverage, consider it. My company offers ARAG legal, group legal coverage, which treats attorneys the same way health insurance covers doctors. I pay $16 a month for coverage, and if I have any legal needs, I can look for an in-network attorney and have them to do what's needed for nothing out of pocket other than official court fees. When I was getting divorced, I was able to retain a $400 an hour attorney with my coverage, and it didn't cost me anything. I also used it for some financial deals, having my drafted, and for estate planning. It's not a super common benefit, but I'm very glad I have it.
Yeah, there are companies that did that. When I worked at a law firm, we did have an insurance. We took insurance, and it is a great benefit that people can have. Most lawyers don't take it, and I think that's because you end up doing a lot of work for very little money, because the firm is only paid whatever the contract is for them to be paid. So you may end up doing $100,000 case for $5,000. So that can be part of the tough part. Also, it's the same thing with any insurance. You may like the doctors and the therapists on your insurance plan, or you may not, and you may need to go out of network. So it's the same thing. If you find an attorney that takes your insurance that you like, great. And if you don't, then you may have to go out of network. So same thing, but it is a really nice benefit that some companies get.
Yeah, gosh, insurance figured out anything to get a monthly premium out of you. Well, good for them. If you're in that business, that's good. Okay, the next post. More grateful than ever to be divorced. Don't ignore the red flags or the feelings like time to go. I look back now at the past 15 months. I realize I saved myself by getting out more than I could ever imagine. And this is something like a life after divorce post. Before the divorce process kicked off, I watched my wife verbally, emotionally, and physically abuse me for years. The final 2 years were before we split. So the final 2 years before we split, I was constantly told I wasn't good enough, didn't earn enough, wasn't engaged enough. And she threatened that she wanted a divorce. At the time this was first starting to take place, we were earning 12K to 15K a month. I was in 24/7 chronic pain after having to jump out of a flaming Jeep at 60 miles an hour and still managed to hold on full-time job, coach our kids in at sports or lead their Cub Scouts, help around the house, and go above and beyond daily. But being married to a narcissist, it was clear that I would simply never be enough, and they would always be the best at any field or endeavor. Skip down here. So okay, I guess they're going to go through this divorce process. Soon after my divorce was initiated, my sister and her husband started the divorce process as well. This was for completely different reasons, but that isn't the focus here. What happened next was the same man my ex-wife would constantly talk about, look down upon, make fun of, was becoming a best friend. They both were at fault for the divorce, and they began to become each other's echo. I found out that they've been sleeping together for months and months now. I'm not sure how it started, nor do I care, but the same thing that bugged me most was the text messages where they would bring our children to sleep over at each other's houses and then abandon them to start having sex. Okay, we skip down here. Okay, so no matter if the divorce had happened last year or years from now, how behavior would always been a ticking time bomb. The way she treated me, her seeking out other people, etc., all were going to happen no matter what. After being able to see how much a year plus a few months after divorce would change our lives, I'm so thankful mine has changed in the manner it has. I'm so grateful to be free to run it. Although I wish my kids had a better mom, I am glad at the father I've been and have become through the season. There's no feeling of missing her. Instead, there's only appreciation for being able to get over her.
Well, I'm glad to hear this person has found peace. I mean, that's very important. It's interesting because we read posts like that, or I talk to people and hear stories like that, and they say, they don't care why the person left or had an affair, and, they're over it and they're so happy. But then when you read deep down, you're like, okay, but they just wrote like a 10-page post about how, every little detail, she'd leave the kids alone and she's not a good mom and this and that. So that indicates to me that they're not actually over it. I'm glad they feel happier and they think that they've found some happiness. That's important. But clearly you're not over it if you're writing something like that. The writing is your way of venting. The writing is therapy, and that's very important. But it doesn't mean you don't need to talk to someone. It doesn't mean you're all cured. Obviously, deep down, this is eating at you still. Maybe not even that deep down. Maybe not that far down. Because if you're talking about it that much and telling the world all these details and sharing that you think she's a bad mom, you've got to talk to somebody. There's clearly stuff still going on that you're resentful for, and it's okay. But it just means look for those signs in yourself. Make sure that when you say, oh, I'm over it, I'm so happy, you might not be, and maybe you should talk to someone.
Okay, our next post, our last final post here about custody and kids. How do I help my children? I'm a 34-year-old female, have recently separated from my husband of 9 years. We have 3 children, 10, 8, 6. It's been a tough decision because although I love him very much, we're more like roommates, and he hasn't come to bed with me for 3 years. I finally got to the point where I realized I couldn't live the rest of my life like that, no matter how much easier it would be. He's moved in with his parents, but the children are so confused and sad. It's not like we are arguing all the time or anything, and I don't know how to help them.
Yeah, that's such a good question, and I get asked that a lot. You really should talk to a children's therapist. Contact your pediatrician, get some referrals, ask your pediatrician for advice, ask who would be best for your children to talk to. I've had my 5-year-old talk to therapists for various things too. I mean, in my opinion, children are never too young for therapy. Get ahead of it, like get on top of it, let them get their feelings out. And maybe it's not even regular therapy they need. Maybe it's play therapy. Maybe it's an activity so that they can have an outlet for their sadness or aggression or whatever they're feeling. But talk to professionals, get help before anything gets worse, because there are helpful people out there. And if you can get ahead of it, then that's going to be, the best chance you have for your kids to not be sad and confused long term.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for today. I noticed a lot more people are doing the colored Halloween pumpkins. My wife and I are always like looking, like, what's people's preference for the pumpkins?
Oh,
that?
You mean like putting them outside?
Because they used to cut them, right? Used to carve them, and now they're just like, there's pink ones, there's blue ones. They're just
yeah. Yeah, I think people are getting more creative with pumpkins. My friend does foam pumpkins, which is awesome because you can keep them each year and they don't rot, and you can still carve them just like regular pumpkins. But yeah, I think people are really into the colored pumpkins. I mean, I still haven't gone to pumpkin patch yet because it's not as much fun without the slides and stuff, but we'll still go.
So I don't know why I went off track. So yeah, that's all the time we have for today. So Emily, as far as like divorces, I guess like custody, what should we look for? I know this is gonna be like October, November. And I don't know if the divorce rates go up because of the results of the election or what, but what do you think?
I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. No, I mean, I think if you're in LA area and you're filing for a motion on custody, you can expect to probably not get into court before January at this point. That's probably how far out you're going to be, maybe December, but probably January. And I think things are still pretty busy, but usually like between Thanksgiving and Christmas is when things slow down. Nobody wants to go to court then or fight. So, hopefully people work out any holiday issues. There's a lot of traveling with COVID going on issues where people are arguing over, can you travel with COVID going on? Can I take the kids to see my family out of state and stuff like that? So try to get along, try to make it work. Your kids are, the most important thing, and you don't want to spend all the money for your kids fighting in court. So, like I said, your kids are the most important thing. So try to not spend all your money fighting in court. Try to find ways to enjoy the holidays with everybody in both families. And, let's make Halloween and all the holidays as fun as we can for our kids, despite, the pandemic everywhere.
So that's all the time we have today. We'll tune in next time. Next week, we'll be on the eve of Election Day. So
I know, right? Oh.
So see you next week.
Bye.
Life After D podcast.